Hey, welcome back to Vortex Garage, and well, you guessed it. Once again, this 2004 Honda Civic is going to be a feature in a video. You might be thinking, geez, aren't you done with this thing? Isn't it going to go back to the owner so it can do some great commuting duties and stuff like that? And well, yeah, it's pretty much done, and it's certainly done now. But let's give you a little backstory what's going to lead us to this video, which, by the way, the topic of this video is how you can take a $300 estimate to do some work and knock it out in just a few minutes and under $15. Now, a little backstory on that. So we got everything done that you've seen us do lately on this car. It was pretty much all set, and I went ahead and ran the VIN to do a recall check on it, which is a great idea if you need to do that. Each manufacturer has a spot where you can plug a VIN in, or you can go to safercar.gov in the US and plug your VIN in and look for recalls. Now, in the case of this one, I found it had an outstanding airbag recall still. So you all remember the Takata debacle. Well, this one I thought had all of them done, and I believe there was a point where there was a recall on the recall. So at any rate, I plugged it in and I found it had an open recall on the passenger airbag. So we went ahead and contacted the dealer and set up an appointment to get that done. Now, what I have in my hand here is the result of that. So the dealer went ahead, anytime you take it up for work, they're going to do their complimentary inspection and give you this nice 10-page sheet of paper of things that they want you to do. And I'm not really going to bash the dealer too much because, quite frankly, I was impressed by some things that they did. So first and foremost, this is a 16-year-old value package Honda Civic with crank windows, and they did concierge service for the recall. They literally, I thought we were going to have someone follow me, drop it off, go pick it up. No, literally, they came and picked it up, left us a 2020 Honda Civic as a loaner, which I told them I didn't even need, but they left it anyway, and took the thing up, did the recall on the airbag, and brought it back the next day for free. No charge, no out-of-pocket costs at all. That was pretty cool. I got to give them credit for that. I don't think I've ever had that. So anyway, I get this along with it. This is the 10-page, hey, we looked at your car and we've got some recommendations. Now, again, I'm not going to beat them up too bad. There are some things in here that legit had to be done, and we just knocked them out and took care of them. And in fact, I'm reshooting this intro because I found two things on here that we went ahead and took care of while we were doing those, expanding the scope of this video, making it even better. So what they gave back with the car was a $1,235 estimate. Now we'll dig into that a little bit later, or at the end of the video, we'll circle back, tell you what the whole $1,200 was. But let's talk about the things we're going to do. We're going to do 300 bucks of that in under $15 worth of stuff in just a few minutes of time. So those things are, so in the critical concerns, there were two things that I got to give them credit for because I overlooked these. Number one, replace the cam plug. That's probably the more intricate one. And so this had an oil leak, and you probably saw there was some oil underneath it. And a while ago, probably about a year or two ago, we replaced the valve cover gasket because it had a very obvious valve cover gasket leak. And I thought, well, that must have been the oil leak. We took care of it. Well, there's one thing on these little Honda engines I wasn't too keen on, and that is this little plastic plug right here, this cam plug. This is like $2 or $3. I think this one might have been $5 or $6 because we got it with Prime shipping. It showed up in 2 days. So there you go. So go along with that. Recommended, and you'll see on the video, went ahead and picked up an EGR gasket as well. This was like $1.79. Right? So all in all, we're about maybe $5, $6 for all that. So replace the cam plug on our estimate sheet here is $95.13. Now I'm not beating them up because I know they got labor costs and all that. That's not the purpose of this. It's not to make fun of the dealer or to talk about that they're too expensive. It's to show you that for a few bucks and for some of your DIY time, this is some reason why a lot of us do this. You can save some money. All right, so for a couple bucks worth of stuff, and it literally took like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we had our new cam plug in. The second one was a little more goofy. Goofy in the sense that I didn't even think this car had one, so I had never thought to even do it. I don't know if the owner's ever done it. The cabin air filter. This has a cabin air filter. I didn't know that. My town car, which is a 2003, this is a 2004, town car doesn't even have one of those. So at any rate, we went ahead and picked up a cabin air filter, $8.99 delivered right here. We'll show you how to do that in the video. It's super easy, couple minutes. From the dealer, to replace the cabin air filter, price $88.52. So 10 times the cost of purchasing one, plus a few minutes of your time. That is super simple to do, and you can save a lot of money. Now we were going to end it there, and we were going to tell you the video was 15 bucks and you'd save the equivalent of about $200 in dealer work. But there were two more things that stood out on this that we'll tell you. Number one, this is the one that I found bizarre. If there was anything on this sheet that I kind of rolled my eyes at and was like, y'all are crazy, it's brakes dash adjust. There's no other description of what they mean by that. Okay, so adjust the brakes, $77.50. Okay, first of all, has brand new brakes up front. We just put those on, new rotors, new pads. They're perfect. We greased all the slider bolts. I mean, there's nothing adjustable on disc brakes, but we took care of everything. We serviced those properly. They're in 100% working order. We tested everything. It's wonderful. The back brakes, I thought, okay, well, the parking brake, I checked that. The parking brake is actually adjusted perfectly as well, so it's not that. So I thought, okay, well, maybe the shoes are bad. I actually picked up a set of shoes for about 20 bucks. I figured, yeah, we'll do them. Well, I'm returning them. You'll see on the video, we'll show you a couple clips. They're perfect. They're amazingly clean. I don't know when they were ever done, if they were done, but man, oh man, they look perfect. I could have done them. It would have been super easy because all the springs and hardware were in perfect shape. They cleaned up. They looked brand new. But that was the point. The shoes looked brand new and everything was fine. I checked the drag on them. Everything was adjusted. The self-adjusters looked fine. There's no adjustment to do. So that one, scratch it right off. So we spent a few minutes looking at some things. So $0 in parts in a few minutes. We were able to scratch that off the list. So that saves $77.50 right there. And the final one that we did, they were right on this, rotate the tires. I actually didn't do that last time we had it up. I should have. They called it out and it reminded me, forgot to do that. So we went ahead and rotated the tires. That was $24.99. So we saved 25 bucks on a tire rotation. So, fortunately we had it up on the lift to check the brakes, so it was good. But even if you're doing it with 4 jack stands, you get all 4 wheels off the ground. So, even then, that's maybe another 30 minutes of work for you to check the brakes and go ahead and rotate the tires while you're in there. So that's 300 bucks worth of stuff, pretty much, that we did for under an hour and $15 worth of parts. So that's the scope of this video. Let's go ahead and get in it. We'll show you the stuff that we did. At the end, we'll circle back. We'll tell you what was the rest of the stuff on this $1,230 bill. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and show you some of the stuff that we did. We're gonna start off with the cabin air filter. We're gonna hop in the car, grab the camera phone, and show you how to do that. All right, first thing we're gonna do is our cabin air filter. And that's in our glove box. Well, it's behind our glove box. So you're gonna wanna open the glove box up, and you see these little tabs on either side. Well, what you're going to need to do with those is come in on either side here, and there's those little clips. You're going to want to push these in. These right here. Push those in, then that clip will pop out. There we go. Then once you do that, you just sort of pull it out, push this up a little bit. Again, it's a little hard to do one-handed. And you go ahead and pull out the stopper piece. We'll just drop it in there. There we go. Push up on the glove box a bit. Try to keep the focus right. And we'll pull that out. Now our glove box can fall out of the way. All right, and here's where our filter is going to be, right in here. So there should be a little door that we pop open, a little push pin, and this door comes off. And then we've got our filters. We got one right here. And I bet you they're going to be bad because, like I said, I don't know if this has ever been done. Oh yeah. Yummy. So maybe I'll grab my vacuum and just make sure we don't drop any of those into the actual case in there, but we're going to pull this one out. Definitely needs to be done. All right, so we're going to set that one aside for the time being. Let's go back in here because there's the second one right here. You just slide it over and then we're just going to pull it out. Same deal. This one has even more of that stuff in it. That's what you get for parking under trees sometimes. Yummy. All right. And then we'll come in with a vacuum and just make sure we clean all that out. Make sure it's nice and clean in there. And then we'll go ahead and pop our new one in. So to put our new ones in, all we got to do is pop the old ones out of these cases. Take the new one. All you got to do is check the airflow direction and match that up to the airflow direction on here. Go ahead and drop it in. All right. And then we'll go ahead and install this one. Which I'm doing through the camera. We'll slide it over. And we'll take our second one. Slide it in. We'll go ahead and reinstall our door. Clip it in. That's it. Next, we'll just position our glove box back up. Take our clips. Push the glove box up to get them started. Get them over like that. And put them in. Hopefully you were able to see that, but they slide in there pretty easily and just clip back in. Super simple. Those are what hold our glove box in place. And we're done. All right, so as you can see, the cabin air filter was actually really simple to do. I mean, I did that with one hand because I was holding my camera phone in the other hand. So I could have been twice as fast if I did it two-handed. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the cam plug. Now we went ahead and did that already. You do have to remove the EGR valve, which is right down in here. And I do recommend you go ahead and pick up a new gasket, although honestly, I probably could have put it back on with the gasket that was on it. Still, $1.79 for the gasket. Go ahead and get one. We'll go ahead and show you how to do that really quick. All right, let's go ahead and replace our cam plug. So we're on the left-hand side of the engine, which is on the right-hand side of the car, if that's not confusing. But basically, it's right next to the airbox. You'll find your EGR valve. Now all we're going to do is come in, push up on this clip, remove the wire. We're going to remove our EGR valve to get it out of the way so we can access our cam plug. Now there are two 12mm bolts. We're going to use a wobble extension to help get in there. And we'll show you on the other camera a little close-up view of what it looks like. Now due to some tight clearances around here, you might need to do each side a little bit at a time to keep things from binding up, and then you should be able to go ahead and remove the bolts. A magnet can help you fish them out when they're loose. Now you might pull the nut off or you might pull the whole stud out. It's really not a big deal. Then we just lift the EGR valve out of the way. Now you're going to want to come in with a scraper, scrape your gasket surface, make sure it's nice and clean because we're replacing the gasket. And we can use, as we just showed you, a vacuum to kind of make sure we don't drop anything in the EGR holes there. And you can now see our cam plug, which we've already wiped off a little bit, but you can see the oil seepage underneath it. So it definitely needs to be replaced. All right, so we've put a rag over our EGR so we don't get any dirt or anything in there. And we should be able to come in with a screwdriver and pry out our cam plug. go. Nice and easy, and we can certainly see the oil that's been getting by the dried out O-ring. With a clean lint-free rag, we'll clean off our surface, make sure it's nice and clean. Then we can take our new plug with a little bit of lubrication on the O-ring. We're going to make sure that the two lines are parallel with the deck. So they'll go like this. And then we'll just reach in and pop that in, which is going to be a little tough to get on camera. I'm going to try to not get in the way, but I probably will. Once you get the 4 pegs started, just push it and it's home. Now for the stud that came out with the nut, we went ahead and removed the nut, and we're going to go ahead and thread the stud back in before we put our new gasket on. That'll help locate things. Big thing is be careful you don't drop the studs in the holes for the EGR passages. Okay, we're going to go ahead and drop on our new gasket, making sure our circle and square are lined up. I guess it's a rectangle, but there we go. And since we have both studs in, it goes ahead and aligns itself really easily. Now we're ready to reinstall our EGR valve. We did clean the bottom surface of this to get all the old gasket material off, and it's ready to be reinstalled. Just fish it in. It's lined up on the 2 studs. All we have to do is put the 2 nuts on the studs. Now getting our magnet in there would be kind of difficult still for the back one, so here's a little trick. You can put a tiny bit of grease in your socket, and sometimes that'll be enough to hold the nut on long enough to go ahead and get it threaded on. It's a bit of a tight fit back there. We ended up using this flexi socket. This flexible socket extension kind of helped out a little bit better than the wobble. We'll go ahead and use this and work both sides a little bit until they're snugged down. Now going back to our wobble extensions, we're going to go ahead and torque these down. Everything I can find in the book seems to indicate 16 pound-feet. Not very much. Now that those are torqued down, all we got to do is plug our EGR back in. And that's it. We're done. So we started the car up, everything's great. Now, if you've been leaking oil for a while, it might be a good idea to go ahead and check your oil, make sure that you're not down a little bit. We just did an oil change, so we should be fine, but we'll still check it anyway. It's super simple. Perfect. Right on the spot. All right, so now as you can see, replacing the cam plug is actually a very simple job as well. So we went ahead and knocked that out. Now the only other thing that was left was the rotation of the tires. We didn't put that on video, but we can draw a quick diagram. I'll do it with arrows. You go, the ones in the front, they switch, they go to the back. The ones in the back go straight up to the front. So maybe if I'm really cool, I'll make some arrows that go that direction and show you on the video here. But you can look that up on Google. A front-wheel drive car, that's pretty much the standard for doing it. Let's go ahead and show you really quick. We'll show you what we found when we took the brake drums off. All right, we put the Civic up on the lift. I had picked up some cheap brake shoes and figured we'd knock those out. And be honest with you, I didn't check them first. I think I'm going to be returning some parts, because check this out. Granted, I did spray this down with a little bit of brake clean, but these look awesome. I mean, they look brand new. I got to imagine they were done at some point. And if these are original, then they're the best I've ever seen. I can't imagine 16 years these are original, but wow, they look wonderful. Now the thing when it came to adjustment, and we probably will go ahead and lube this up while we have an opportunity, is the adjuster in here. You see that little star adjuster, it auto adjusts. That's an item that we're going to want to go ahead and probably get a little bit of lubrication on. All right, so if our drum doesn't want to come off, we'll tap it a little bit. There we go. I feel it's loose already. Let's go ahead and pull that off. I can't do that holding this camera in my hand, but it's loose enough to pull off by hand. All right, this is before spraying it down with brake cleaner. These look pretty good as well. Let's go ahead and spray them down. Well, as you can see, these look pretty darn nice as well. So there's plenty of material left on these shoes. Everything's clean. Nothing's rusted or broken. The springs and hardware all look really, really good. We're not touching these. We're going to put them back on and rotate the tires while we're in here. And otherwise, I see nothing wrong with these brakes whatsoever. And the only thing we're going to do, like I mentioned, we'll spray a little bit of lubrication on the self-adjuster just to make sure that that doesn't bind up on us in the future. But everything looks good. I mean, the adjustment on them feels fine. I see nothing out of the ordinary with these brakes. They look perfect to me. In case you were wondering how the drums look, I mounted one inverse on the hub here so we can just sort of show it to you. Everything looks great on the surface in the drum. Yeah, I didn't pull the tools out to measure run out or anything like that, but quite frankly, there are 0 pulsations in the pedal when you drive this. The brakes feel completely smooth and stable. Everything looks great in terms of how they're set up. There's no abnormal wear on the shoes. I'm not even going to waste the time pulling the dial indicator out and check anything. We're good to go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll show you a little bit of how some DIY and a little bit of time can save you a lot of money. It's good. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what the rest of the things that were on our $1,200 bill, things that we don't really need to do right now. So there were 4 things on the what they call failed or critical concerns. 2 of them were the cabin air filter, which they were right on, and the cam plug, which they were correct on as well. So 100% agree, went ahead and knocked those out. The third thing, perform 4-wheel alignment. Now I will tell them they were right in terms of calling that out. However, they don't realize that literally 10 miles before it went to the dealer, we had just brought it back from the alignment shop having that done. Now we had the local shop here that I always go to. They do a great job with alignments and they charge $79.99, so $80 for a 4-wheel alignment. I've got the before and afters and everything. They did a great job. The dealer wanted to charge $130 for that, so $129.99. And honestly, that's about the going rate if you go to like a chain shop or something like that. So I can't really fault them for that price. That's kind of common around here for a lot of places. Now in this packet, there's no pre-specs. There's nothing to say, hey, we put it on an alignment rack and your alignment's out of whack. What they claim is they looked at the tires and they're like, hey, we see some wear on the tire. We recommend that you do an alignment. And they're probably right with that. There was a little bit of wear. The tires are still very new looking. We knew it needed an alignment. It definitely did. They were not wrong in that. However, we already took care of that. Last thing on here, a little goofy. Perform air conditioning flush to help eliminate microbial fibers causing mold, mildew, odors in the evaporator. Now that's pretty much where they clean out the air system and the air ducts and everything, and they spray some cleaner in there and they flush it out. They're not doing anything where they're doing intricate AC work or anything like that. You can buy stuff and do it. It's not a bad thing to do. This car doesn't seem to exhibit any odors. I don't think that it's really critical to be done, but we can get a can and do that. We didn't do it on this video, but the key point for that, they want $175 to do that, $174.90. So that one I'm a little wishy-washy on in terms of the cost. So that was it for the critical stuff. All right, so what was on the caution list? So we'll go over those really quick. So typical fluid change stuff that they want you to do. Power steering fluid exchange, not a bad thing to do. You can do it from a DIY perspective. There's plenty of ways to do that. So the way they do it, they want to charge $184.87. Perform BG brake fluid flush. Again, great thing to do. This is not a bad recommendation. And we're pretty good about exchanging brake fluid on our cars. I don't know when this one was done last, so we'll probably go ahead and knock that out at some point. And we've got the tools. We've got a motive tool that makes it real easy as long as you got the adapter. This car doesn't even have ABS, so there's no issues there. You don't even have to have the tool for the ABS pump. So super simple to do. We can actually knock that out really quick, though we're not doing it on today's video. They want $162.90 for that. Honestly, that's probably 20, 30 bucks of fluid. And if you don't have the tool is about $60, $70, and the adapter is probably another 20 or 30. So, you know, it's one of those things. Sometimes it's great. You get new tools by doing it yourself. You save money. It's half the cost of what the dealer's going to charge, or you save 50 bucks and you end up with the tools. So next time around it's even cheaper. This is where they had the brakes, adjust the brakes for $77.50. No, we already talked about that. I don't, that's whack. Perform BG fuel induction service. So this isn't like a fuel filter change or anything like that. That's literally doing like a top end cleaning, and they hook some chemicals up. Not a bad thing to do from a maintenance perspective. I mean, you can take apart your throttle body and you can clean all those pieces and get the carbon off and whatnot. Definitely not a horrible thing to do, but $202 to do that. And that's on the yellow list. So that's it. That's what makes up our $1,235 bill. And like I said, all the things that were truly critical that we needed to do, and one of the non-critical, which I wanted to check the brakes anyway, we went ahead and knocked out today. 300 bucks worth of stuff we did for under $15 and under an hour's worth of time. What else is on here? Anything interesting? So they have like a list of key information. So brakes, this is where I look at it odd. So they go observation, key information. They have the brakes here. All four wheels, left front, left rear, right rear. All of them are passed. The best part is, this is where they're goofy. I'll show you a picture of this. Disc. They call them all disc brakes. This has drums in the back. Makes you wonder if they even looked at it, okay? And I can tell you they didn't take the drums off, because the drums, I had to hammer them off a little bit. They had been on there for a while. So they said everything passed, so whatever. I mean, it definitely was. They were perfect. So at any rate, in the observations, the caution observations, they have job description, brake stash adjust, nothing under observation or recommendation. In fact, the only one that they have a recommendation for is cam plug leaking oil, and recommendation replace cam plug, which they put in past tense, making it like they already did it, which they didn't. So, you know, if you're not going to say, what's the point? Now, they do have one more thing that's kind of laughable in here. They have a picture of a cabin air filter. It's not the right one. Item description: prevents dirt, pollen, and other debris. That's how they get you to do it. They want to tell you why. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people who don't know why. Why would I replace that? Well, let me tell you why. And it's good for a shop to do that. A shop needs to explain to its customers why it's critical or necessary to take care of some maintenance actions on your car. But listen to what they say. So item description is what you would expect. The reason, though, if not replaced, can cause various electronic components, e.g. relays, switches, and sensors, to not perform the specifications. We'll let that sink in for a little bit. Yes, if you don't replace your cabin air filter, your relays, switches, and sensors will fail or not perform the specifications. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen some people's cars, and I mean, I'll even admit a few of my own, where the stuff inside, you know, your Starbucks that you're spilling all over things, that's causing more problems for your switches than your cabin air filter. I mean, say something about allergies, or, you know, if it gets plugged up with too much gunk, it's going to limit the airflow and coming into the car and the fresh air and everything, something like that. But to say that the only reason you need to replace it is that relays, switches, and sensors may not perform the specifications, I think we're about done here. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. We did show you that with a little bit of money and a little bit of time, you can save yourself a fair amount of cash. Now, if you like videos like this, or you want to see more, definitely check us out for more here on Vortex Garage.